Plarium has announced that there is going to be a mythical champion up for grabs if we are able to clear enough content in the new Cursed City of Sintranos that is launching very soon. So we've got Karnage the Anarch. And what I like to do when they introduce new champions to the game, I like to just first gut reaction, go over their kit and grade the different abilities, and then talk about my thoughts on the champion as they are being leaked into the game. So first of all, let's talk about what Plarium says about Karnage. And we've got Arena will be the main place to shine for Karnage the Anarch, and a brand new seal debuff will be a very interesting thing to work with. This debuff allows to turn off the effects from gear sets, as well as masteries that only stat boost like Blade Disciple and Flawless Execution, etc. Now the Flawless Execution one, that's like the crit damage, and it doesn't block the effects that were activated before these debuffs were placed. So I'm thinking that means something like you've got a shield set and it, at the start of a battle, gives the ally shield. Well, then if you place the seal debuff, it's not going to retroactively remove all those shields, I guess is probably what they're trying to say here. So that is interesting. It sounds like you're going to be able to turn off the special effects of sets. So you've got a set like Lifesteal where it's not just stats, it's a special effect of stealing health from something. The seal debuff would turn that off, or at least that's kind of what I'm reading here. I haven't been able to dive in and test this new debuff, but that's what it sounds like. Then in the base form, Karnage's main goal is to debuff the enemy team to gain maximum bonuses in his alternate form afterwards. While in the alternate form, Karnage becomes a pure damage dealer that boosts his performance thanks to the debuffs on enemies. And this is rare. We usually don't get to see the stats that are associated with these champions on the leaks like this when Plarium gives us the kits. But in today's video, I was able to grab a couple screenshots where it does show us the stats here. So look at this. You've got pretty normal stats. Nothing's really out of line right here. But then in the second form, the damage dealing form, 1960 attack. I believe that's the highest attack we've ever seen by a decent margin. Insane bonkers base attack. So if his multipliers are even decent, you're gonna be able to crank out insane hits with this guy. But okay, let's go over the kit here as a gut reaction. So first up with the A1, we've got attack one enemy 2 times, a 50% chance of removing one random buff from the target, and whenever an enemy hits this champion or an ally, a 50% chance to counterattack with this skill. The chance increases by 10% for each debuff on the enemy. Now, there isn't a caveat here that says will not occur multiple times if multiple allies are hit. It says whenever an enemy hits this champion or an ally. So if that's an AoE that hits 4 of your team, does he do this 4 times? I doubt it, but there should probably be a caveat of this could only occur once per enemy turn or something like that. I would guess is how it functions. I mean, I doubt he's going to run up and do this 4 times on every AoE hit, but this is pretty ridiculous. I mean, removing a random buff from the target and just passively doing this, and then you get the ignore resistance there on book number 2. So yeah, with the ignore resistance and just the passive effect of a default ability constantly doing some buff manipulation, I gotta give this like an A+ as far as A1s are concerned. And I realized I was grabbing the wrong window, so let's go ahead. I was talking about this ignore resistance, and then I gave this A1 in the first form an A+. That is a ridiculous default. So then we got the A2, attack one enemy 2 times, and then before attacking, we're gonna swap HP with an enemy, and then steal, so not just remove, but steal all buffs from them, and then also transfer all debuffs from this champion onto the target, and then place that seal debuff where it blocks some of those effects from sets and masteries on the target for 2 turns, and that cannot be removed, cleansed, anything like that, and it can't be resisted or blocked, even blocked, if the target has 50% HP or less. Books to a 3-turn cooldown. Yeah, this is again pretty bonkers. You get a lot of buff manipulation. You lock out some of their bonuses from masteries and sets and all that. Again, I've got to go with like an A. That's a pretty darn cool ability. Then the A3 is also going to be a 3-turn cooldown. Attack one enemy 3 times. The first hit can place a block passive skills debuff for 2 turns, which cannot be removed. And the second hit can place a block active skills for 2 turns, which cannot be removed. And the third hit steals turn meter. So you're blocking passive, you're blocking active, And then you're not removing their full turn meter, you're stealing it. So Karnage can basically take another turn. And then you get 30% ignore resistance from the books. I mean, again, this is also, I mean, it's single target, but that's like A+. That is a crazy ability. And then we have a passive. Each hit this champion deals from skills has a 50% chance of applying a debuff spread effect, taking one random debuff from the target and placing it on all enemies. Whenever this champion kills an enemy, a 100% chance of applying a debuff spread effect, taking all debuffs from the target and placing them on all enemies, and it cannot be resisted. So, wow, like just passive, constant debuff spreading all over the battlefield. I'm going to have to give this, I mean, it's a passive. So anytime we're just getting just generous value added to the champion and it's consistent in terms of spreading buffs, I got to give that an A as far as a passive is concerned. And then look at this. We've got the best aura in the game for speed of plus 33%. I believe that's number 1 in the game. I believe there's like a 32 in the game or something. It's like Kymar maybe. There's a lot of 19s. There's a lot of 24s. You've got like Lysandra at 24 and Duchess at 19 and things like that. Kymar is at like 30. And then you've got, I think there's another random one, like Lord Shazar or one of these champions that's like a 32. But yeah, I think 33 is the highest speed aura in the game. But it is for the arena and not all. So since it's not all battles, I won't go A+, but it is literally the highest in the game for the arena, I believe. So I'm going to go A. And in this first form, he's not really going to be trying to do a bunch of damage. This is mostly for utility. Remember, he loses like 500 base attack in this first form. There's not a whole lot of AoE. It's mostly just single target, spreading buffs, passive value, counterattacking to remove buffs with that A1. Insane utility, locking people out of their sets, their masteries, their passives, their actives. Lots of utility here in the base form, and it doesn't really get much better than this. You've got basically an average of almost A+ fully. So we've got like a 98 over 100 champion here. Pretty insane. But then we move into the second form down here, and this is going to be the damage dealing form. You can see he kind of like grabs the sword and lifts it up compared to that first form where it's down, and then he gets a little bit of a different look here as he's ready to deal damage. I'm guessing he's going to start doing AoE and a bunch of craziness to pop off here in this other form where he would have that 1960 base attack that we showed. So, okay, A1, we've got attack one enemy 2 times, heal the champion by 20% of damage inflicted, just kind of a passive lifesteal set there. And then whenever an enemy hits this champion or an ally, so again, hit anybody on the team, has a 50% chance of counterattacking with this skill, and the chance increases by 10%. So again, pretty similar to the last one. Now, there's no buff manipulation on this one, so I don't think it's quite an A+ like the first form, but he's just getting kind of passive healing because he's got an insane base attack and he's going to constantly be hitting enemies. So if this thing is like a Candrafon type A1 where it hits hard, it'd be pretty close to an A+. I'm going to give it an A right now. Definitely a really strong basic. Then the A2 can be booked to a 3-turn cooldown, and we've got an AoE. Yep, there it is. Ignore all shields as a passive value. That's great. We'll also ignore ally protection when attacking enemies under 1 or more debuff, and unkillable when attacking enemies under 2 or more debuffs. And then we get a bunch of damage and 1 cooldown there from the books. That's a pretty standard AoE. I'm sure it's going to hit super hard. It's going to be an amazing nuke with his 1960 base attack. So, I mean, you do get the ignore and unkillable and stuff. Having 2 debuffs on them is pretty reliable for damage dealers. You're usually going to like place a weaken or a decrease speed or a defense break, all that type of stuff. So it should be able to hit these qualifiers and then finish things off like Leorius and some of those annoying champions. I'm going to go like, ignoring shield is super nice. I'm going to go like A-. And then we have an A3 that is a 5-turn, which can book to a 4. Usually when this happens, there's some sort of turn meter bonus or grant extra turn or something. Attack all enemies 2 times. AoE multi-hitters are great. If the target is killed by this skill while under 3 or more different debuffs, place a block revive debuff on them. Okay, so you're going to like kill them and then block the revive so they can't come back right away, like from a Duchess or something. And then also heal this champion by 30% of the damage dealt. I'm surprised that that's only a 4-turn cooldown there and it doesn't book to a 3, but probably because you're also blocking revive, which can shut out other skills. So making it cycle on a 3-3 rotation would be a little bit rough. So it's always nice to block revives because that is super annoying. It allows you to close out those fights like in live arena where they could go 20 minutes long and all of that. So again, with the block and revive, the multi-hitter, the self-heal, I'm going to go with an A there. Then again, we've got that Metaphor, which can transfer back to the base form. And then the passive right here is this champion's crit damage increases by 1% for every 3 points of accuracy they have and ignores 10% of the target's defense for each debuff they are under. So if you've got something under 2 or 3 debuffs, you're just getting a passive savage set. You're just like... holy moly, as a passive here in the second form, that is definitely, I don't even know if I can go A+. I think this is like, I just have to go straight to S. Like, this is just a ridiculous passive. I mean, every 3 points of accuracy. So if you have 300 accuracy on this guy, say you got 300 accuracy, which is pretty realistic for some of those mid-game, end-game builds, that just gives us a passive 100% crit damage. Are you kidding me? On a damage dealer, and not only the crit damage, but you're also ignoring a bunch of defense. Holy moly, what a passive for a damage dealer. And then obviously the aura is determined pre-battle, so that's going to have to stay the same as that first one where you've got that 33% speed in the arena. So again, I mean, we've got mostly A's and an S. Would grade out again, like also like a 90. I mean, as a damage dealer, you can block revive, ignore shield, you can heal yourself, you can ignore defense, you get 100 crit damage passively. Yeah, again, like a 99 out of 100. So this champion is completely amazing. And again, like I always say, these are gut reaction type of videos. I've been wrong before. I like to get my opinion out there before I read Reddit or I check Discord or I message content creators to see what they think or I watch people's videos. I like to do my own self-analysis and then see if I'm right or wrong and get the gut reaction out there. But yeah, I mean, he seems just absolutely crazy. So the City of Sintranos, if you're able to clear that content and you're able to acquire this guy, he's not going to be a meme champion like some of those Doom Tower champions that no one wants to even bother using. He will definitely be someone you want to bring into your tag team arena, your live arena, and your account in general. I'm going to have to do another segment where I plug in this kit and then have the AI grade it and see if I usually ask the AI to grade a kit from like 1 to 100 and then we'll see if it spits out like 98s and 99s like I was grading here. So yeah, I will do a poll over on the community tab if you want to head on over to vote in that, and then I always link to the video there in that poll so that we can get people interacting with each other and sharing their votes based on agreeing or disagreeing with me and try to get some more fleshed out views of new champions being added to the game. So feel free to head on over there and vote in the poll, and then I will cover that in future content here on the channel. So remember to subscribe if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you soon in the next video. Peace.